neutral level is courage, the quality of courage. Above it is positivity that goes into various degrees, and below it is negativity. And he graded it like self-assertion comes below courage, because a lot of the times it's infused with pride. And above it goes self-respect or understanding, cooperation, etc. And when I looked at this particular chart, the one thing that I found fascinating is sometimes that to really create a shift, it's not enough just to tolerate, for example, but it's like, together with tolerance, it's like rising above to acceptance and moving higher to love. And when we do that, almost in a way, the positive energy is higher than the energy that we're needing to transform and shift. And so then the shift happens. Otherwise, we just neutralize energies. So I find that quite interesting, and almost to reflect that, how one thing is to stay detached and neutral, but what can I always contribute? What can I add in a quiet way, with powerful intention, positive vision, so that what I'm adding, its energy is greater than what I'm resisting, so that I can begin to shift things around. So always, always the aspect is to, explore in our own selves and begin to refine in our own selves areas that we can really begin to empower, strengthen, purify, because the higher we raise that bar in ourselves, the more we are able to effect change around us. So this morning, what I'm going to take from Dadi Janki relates to relationships and connections. And this is always such an important aspect, because, so much of how we see ourselves and the quality of our life and experience is very integrated with the quality of our relationships. And, often I find it's like relationships are the source of our greatest joy. When they work, when they function, when there's an easy flow. But relationships can also become the source of our greatest pain, when there's disappointments and feelings of betrayal or whatever the case may be. So how do we navigate in our relationships? And I think ultimately, as I would explore from what Dadi says, it is about transforming my base of relating from attachment to love. And that's a very tricky area, because we've sort of mixed what we understand attachments and love. We sort of think a lot of the times what we understand love to be is really attachments. And as long as there's attachments, in a way, there will always be a kind of push and pull, a kind of a reaction that we will experience. So exploring what my attachments are is a big subject, and beginning to really see its subtlety of how it locks me into expectations and dependencies, and how I need to clear that, so that I become free, but also that the love that I express is very pure And that love then becomes very transforming love. So it's an ongoing journey. It's something that we always have to keep looking at ourselves and clearing up and strengthening an aspect of pure love. And the whole thing of really that how to really experience that deep love, it is connection with God that supports that. Because it's like when I become receptive to allowing myself to be absorbed in love that is unconditional, it's then that I learn to express love that is unconditional. And yet within that, I also will know how to put healthy boundaries, because unconditional love really looks at what it is that really allows the best for the self and the other to emerge and express itself. So it holds an interesting combination of energies in that regard. So let me read what Dadi has shared, and then we can explore that and look at different aspects of it deeper. If my friends and relations do not choose to accompany me on my spiritual path, why should I chase after them, trying to get them to change? They won't listen to me anyway, no matter what I say. So a better approach is to focus on my own change process. A river doesn't need to urge people into drinking its water. People are naturally drawn to it, provided its waters are pure, free-flowing, and sweet. In the same way, become so attractive through your spiritual efforts that everyone will want to join you naturally. We are hindered in this by attachments, which tend to make us forget that our well-being is not dependent on others at all, that we each have the capacity to flow and sparkle in our own unique way. Having forgotten this, I'm just going to ask Carol if you could mute yourself. Thanks. Having forgotten this, we develop the habit of turning to others to feel good about ourselves. Using other people in this way is a deceptive source of well-being. And this deception leads to a great deal of pain. We can change this habit by keeping an eye on our aim. If we don't, our spiritual powers will be destroyed again and again as we allow ourselves to come under the influence of limited emotions. Instead of losing out like this, we should pay more attention to what we are doing. We will only be able to make others free when we free ourselves first. Om Shanti. So a very powerful paragraph here by Dadi. One thing that I'd like to raise from that passage, one is something that we all sometimes struggle with, and that is in terms of our relationships, close relationships, we feel responsible. Ever have that experience coming up where you feel responsible to ensure that people are happy? And many times when we get caught in that we end up doing things to please so that others can be happy. And sometimes that also leads us to compromise ourselves, compromise our personal aims, and what supports us in our well-being as well. And so that's a classic example of recognizing how attachment distorts things. And my experience is that when we try to please in that way, you can never get it right. That's been my experience. You can never get it right. You'll always, something will be lacking, or you'll end up doing something that displeases them, or saying something that, throws things off course. And so instead of trying to please people and dancing around their likes and dislikes and their sanskaras, many of you know the word sanskaras. It's those internal traits that we have. So instead of dancing around to try and please and accommodate all of that, I found that it's very important to be very consistent in how I put my practices and keep my aim. And I think when I'm consistent, then it allows for people to start trusting me. And very often that which people can trust then makes people feel safe. And then there's an easier flow with others. So instead of trying to please, be consistent in your practice. Be consistent in terms of what you say and what you do. And, as Daddy puts it, it's like a river that continues to flow. And the more I keep that attention on myself in terms of the quality of what I'm offering, if I keep refining that and keep that introspective attention on that, then I serve others better. Because it's in my being and in the way I respond to things that I serve. I found very often that instead of trying to bend to personalities in a way, just being consistent, always being calm, being objective about things, being reasonable about things, it's like it creates an atmosphere around you where people feel stable, and I think that in itself then helps people to go beyond their own internal challenges and can actually emerge aspects of themselves that can also add to the situation in a positive way. So I like this analogy that Daddy used. Just be the river and continue to flow, continue to move forward. Because always to remember that when I move forward, I clear the path for others to move forward as well. It's like that poem that Mariba had shared at the opening of, I think it was when we had our first elections, and that first speech he gave by Marianne Williamson, and that it's not our darkness that we fear. Many times it's our light that we fear. And that when I allow myself to let my light shine brightly, I inspire others, but I also in a way give others the permission to let their light shine. So always to know that, to stay consistent, to keep my aim clear, to keep my internal efforts going in that regard, that as I move forward, I give others permission to also move forward. And there's a kind of a growth that happens collectively. And that for me is the basis of real love. that we can support each other in a very natural way to keep moving forward, not by tiptoeing around each other, but by rather keeping a very clear, distinct aim of the kind of energy we want to offer and give in a situation. So that was one aspect of it. And I think very much recognizing that what is my responsibility, because many times I think we get a bit entangled because we don't have a clear sense of what my responsibility is. Once it was many years back, and I had been on the spiritual path for almost 20 years. And in my immediate family, it was just myself. And my mom at one stage had got very ill. And I started feeling a bit heavy because I felt I hadn't really served her spiritually as much as I have been doing things. I was in Cape Town at that time. And Dadi Janki had come. And so I had the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with her. And I shared with her the heaviness that I was feeling. And Dadi shared something very beautiful with me, and I'll never forget that. She said, you cannot be held responsible or for another soul's journey. You cannot make another soul love God. It's something that has to awaken in that soul. And so as you keep doing the work that you need to, as you keep refining your own efforts, as you keep creating opportunity for that soul in a way, that's all that you need to do. The soul will take when the soul is ready. And it definitely happened for me like that when I stopped feeling responsible for my mother's spiritual journey, that's when she found it in her own capacity to take the steps that she needed to and engage in a life that integrated spiritual teachings more consciously. So it was a deep lesson in a way, that recognizing that in our personal relationships, what is the way that we can support each other best, and not to lose ourselves in a false sense of understanding what our responsibility is. What are the signs that sometimes there is attachment? And one of the things that you begin to see in yourself is that when I'm attached to someone, my own emotional state gets very influenced by that person's emotional state. So when I'm attached to someone, if they're happy, then I'm happy. If they're unhappy, then I become unhappy. And if I get entangled in that way, I can't really help them go above what they're going through. So that's where we also begin to see that, creating a sense of real love, which is not attachments, that's when I can offer the energy that to the other so they can rise above their own situations as well. So a good practice, because I find that it's with those that we most closely related to that this area gets most entangled with. And so what I find a very, very good practice is really this practice of soul conscious vision, really to remind myself that the other is a soul on a unique journey. The other is a soul, a child of God. And that unique vision of soul consciousness, that awareness of soul consciousness, it keeps me on track, and it allows my energy to be of a higher blend and a higher quality, that can support the other in a quiet way as well. So how often, and it's really to bring that practice into your closest of close relations at home, the people that you see and that you live with, consciously to remind yourself when you see them that that's a soul, a unique being on their journey. And can I just appreciate and recognize and support that vision of that individual as a unique soul? So those were some of my thoughts for this morning from Dadi Janki's passage. I leave a few moments if anyone has questions or any kind of input you'd like to make, and then we'll end for the meditation. So yes, if you would like to, you can please unmute yourself and ask, or otherwise in the chat is also great. So if anyone would like to comment or ask a question, would be great.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Bianca. Go ahead.
Thank you. 2 days ago, someone said to me that there were words that led up to this day. Said to me, I don't open the Pause for Peace videos that you send to me daily because it takes data. And that's why you never had data. So I said, I do have data. And my reply was, I need to know actually, do I continue to send this Pause for Peace videos and the daily thought cards? Because my reply was that you know God, but you don't love God. That was my reply. And I immediately thought, what have I just said? And I need to know, do I continue sending thought cards and the Pause for Peace? Because I just don't know what to do now.
I think it's such a natural response from all of us that when we take benefit from something, we want to share it, especially with the people that are closest to us. And so sometimes we can come across like we're pushing something, and people are maybe not ready for that. So I would always rather say, okay, if this is not something that's useful for you, no problem. When you do want it, then let me know and I'll happily send it to you. I think in a way, sometimes it's important for us giving others the space to find their own answers, because sometimes we do feel, this is going to be good for you and it's helped me so much. And sometimes we look at the other and we say, I know that this is what you struggle with and maybe this will help you, but it's just let them find their own. And if they come to you, then happily offer, but otherwise let them explore for themselves. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's just giving respect to the person and their journey, so make it available, but if they're not ready for it, then it's also okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Shanti. And I think it's an important element, especially when you're a parent or a grandparent, because you've had certain struggles, you've learned certain lessons, and you then very much want to let your children or your grandchildren not make the same mistakes you made. So you sometimes push sort of what you've learned. And I think many times you end up seeing that there's a resistance from them. So best is to offer and then let be, and let them explore and come to it, and they can come to you when they're ready for it. It's always good to give that space. Okay, if there isn't another question, then let's end off with a meditation. Okay, So let's just take a deep breath and allow ourselves to come back to that inner space within us of quietness. So gently begin to focus on your inner being. I am a living being of consciousness. I am light. I am a soul. The energy within my being is like a river. That within me there's a clear sense of a direction that I'm journeying in. Returning to that state of total freedom, complete peace, and deep purity. And as I keep that awareness, that is my ultimate destination, then at each moment, having that aim in front of me, I keep taking steps towards that. Holding this deep feeling that as I journey towards my aim, I maintain feelings of love and good wishes and encouragement and compassion for all those around me. But as I move forward, I create the path for others to move forward. Ultimately, the deepest longing in each one of us is for that state of complete freedom and peace. So I take this moment and holding this analogy of a river, just allow myself, keeping the remembrance of the divine, to fill my heart with a deep sense of peace and stillness, and allowing my heart, as I connect with the source, to just experience deep love. A love that enables me and allows me to overflow with pure energy. My only responsibility in this moment and the moments going forward is to create a positive, powerful, pure atmosphere. It is my energy that serves and supports. And so I hold that awareness and I share that vibration and I share that energy. Om Shanti. So thank you all and have a lovely day. And yes, have a wonderful weekend going forward. And we'll meet all again on Monday morning. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, sister. Could you tell me, is that page 23 of the book?
No, that was page 11 of the book.
Page 11. Thank you very much. That's the
Okay.
noise you heard. I was trying to find it.
Okay, great. Thanks. Take care.
That was lovely. Thank you.